This is a review of the Beboncool or Beboncool wireless Bluetooth controller, which according to their website is a company that appears to be from Shanghai. The controller model is B21, that's Bravo 21. The controller being reviewed has been in use for 10 months and was purchased from Amazon for $20. On a scale from 1 to 10, this controller ranks in at 7.5 for being a good budget wireless Bluetooth controller. Just for reference, each square is 1 inch or 2.54 centimeters. The tops of the joysticks are textured and somewhat grippy. The select, start, and home buttons are rubber. The joysticks are tall, springy, and responsive. The shoulder buttons are 4 buttons with no triggers. Between the shoulder buttons, there is a micro B, that's micro Bravo USB charging port. On the back of the controller where the fingers rest, there is a mode switch and a reset button. Mouse mode on this controller works with Android devices and allows you to use the controller as a mouse. In general, this controller does not appear to have issues connecting to Android devices, and once paired, quickly reconnects by simply being turned on. This controller does not have any vibration features. After 10 months, this controller still gets 14 hours and 45 minutes of total play time. Charging while the controller is in use takes approximately 1 hour and 25 minutes. It's worth noting that the battery life was measured during intermittent play. After 5 minutes of inactivity, the controller will go to sleep. The pros for this controller are that it's comfortable, has a decent battery life, and springy buttons. The cons for this controller are primarily the D-pad and face buttons. The D-pad is not good for fighting games, nor are the face buttons good for fighting games or action games that require speed and dexterity. So with the information out of the way, I'll now give my thoughts on the controller. Overall, I think it's a good controller, especially for the price. If you can get it anywhere around $20, I think it's worth it. It's a good budget controller. It doesn't have any kind of vibration features, such as a DualShock or Rumble Pack, that you would find on a console controller. The layout is very comfortable. The buttons are where you expect them to be. Select and start are easy to reach. I never found myself wondering where a button was. And if you like the PlayStation style controller, this is a good controller. On top of that, the controller is a little thicker than a PlayStation controller, which can be a little more comfortable depending on your preference. And the biggest issue I had with this controller were the face buttons and D-pad. All of these are actually too springy and too raised for my taste. The D-pad, for example, it's difficult to roll your thumb. So for a fighting game, for example, Street Fighter, doing half circles and quarter circles become really difficult because as you roll off of one directional pad, your thumb will hit the next one and get stuck rather than rolling onto the next pad. This isn't too big of an issue if you're just using it for an adventure game or an action game. I've even used this with 3D games, and the D-pad works fairly well. It is a little uncomfortable, but it does the job. And over time, the D-pad does get a little softer. The X and A buttons, or what would be square and X on a PlayStation controller, have, after 10 months, gotten a little soft and are a little lower than the other buttons. The left joystick is also a little looser than the right stick, but not by much. And after 10 months, the left joystick did start to make a little bit of noise, just from the wear, but after cleaning it, the noise has stopped. Also, the left joystick was starting to not be as smooth. It's starting to have a rough feel from the collection of plastic dust. So after cleaning it, that's another issue that went away. It's smooth again. Overall, it's a reliable controller. It seems to sync up every time without a problem. The battery life is good. So it's a good budget controller without vibration features, but not a good fighting game controller.